Hey YouTube, Freedom for Kaz here. Hey, what's going on today? Hey, I'm going to continue my story on with the president's speech, and I'm going to go into a new video here called Operation New Dawn. I know we've all heard about it, but I do got some interesting information. I don't know if you've heard, but this is pretty cool. But the first thing I want to do is I want to give out a shout out to one of my fellow truthers. And this guy is a great guy. He has some awesome videos. He comes up with some very, very good stuff. In fact, I encourage everyone to go check out his channel. He's a great guy from Canada, Barbarian Rebellion. He is a super friend and great guy. He recently sent me a video that I'm going to attach underneath of this one. So I want to give him some credit first before I go anywhere. First up, I want to talk about is Operation New Dawn, and this link is from the Examiner.com. It says Operation New Dawn, the Iraqi war is not over, combat dying continue, and that's pretty much the truth. I knew Obama was lying right through his teeth, and that's pretty much what I said the whole time. And this article starts out, in the weeks since the much publicized withdrawal of combat troops from Iraq, it has become more evident that the Iraq war continues under a new name, Operation New Dawn. First off, this letter talks about the Department of Defense and the Pentagon press issues. It says, shortly after we end the war. Well, I don't think anyone has declared the end of the war, and I know that I haven't, and I'm sure a lot of you other people haven't. But let's look at some of the details here. There are more than 50,000 troops remaining, and they are well armed, and among their responsibilities would be counterterrorism, and taking on the Islam militants as well, and also other combat situations. The former head of the Central Command, who was in charge of the military operations in Iraq, echoed that the Pentagon sentiments when General Petraeus, he said that we were not leaving Iraq, and that is exactly true. Now, to make matters worse, it is possible that U.S. troops will return to Iraq if the security situation gets worse. Another problem with that is that there's also consideration that U.S. troops would be considered to be staying in Iraq after 2011 if needed. There is more talk of the U.S. staying beyond 2011 for the deadline for the withdrawal of all troops, one of Iraq's top military officers said. And last week, American forces may be needed for another decade. And I've said that all along. This is going to be a never-ending war. I don't know why our president even got on TV to embarrass the hell out of himself by saying that Iraqi freedom is over. It's not over. It's just a new name. And what kills me is how many American sheeple are going to buy into this. Like, oh yeah, the war is over now. This war is far from being over, but I continue. The Army Times reported that the name has been changed from to Operation New Dawn, but there's also like a secondary name. It's called Advise and Assist Brigade, and I guess that's the name for the troops now. Well, this brigade, there are 7 Advise and Assist Brigades in Iraq, as well as 2 additional National Guard infantry brigades, and those are for security. There are 2 combat aviation brigades that also remain in Iraq as well, and the combat brigades are there for the source to advise and assist brigades to retain their inherent capabilities to conduct offensive and defensive operations, according to the Army Security Force Assistance Field Manual, which came out in May of 2009. Now, the Washington Reports goes on to say that the agenda for America's no longer labeled combat troops, American troops in Iraq will still be in harm's way. They will still accompany Iraqi units on combat missions, even if it's only as an advise-only situation. But the thing is that they will be in combat situations. American pilots will still fly combat missions in support of Iraqi ground forces, and American special forces still face off against Iraqi terrorist groups in high-intense operations. So, in a nutshell, what they're saying is that nothing has absolutely changed. Nothing. The article continues, and sadly, the war's end does not mean it's an end to the death of U.S. soldiers in Iraq, and that's exactly true. An American soldier was killed by a rocket attack in southern Iraq this past Sunday, which the U.S. military says is marking the first American fatality since the last combat unit in Iraq was pulled out of the country. So now what they're doing is, it seems as though as American soldiers will now be, if they get killed, they're starting a new number now, because now it's called, Operation New Dawn. Well, as far as American soldiers being killed, we're back to starting over at 1. Okay, and I will get back to that in just a minute. It also does not mean an end to deployments of new troops to Iraq. If new troops are needed, Obama has the ability to send more troops there. It also does not mean an end to deployments of new troops to Iraq. 5 peace activists blocked 6 buses carrying 4 hood soldiers being deployed to Iraq. These buses were slowed to a halt while police made no arrests. They forced the activists out into the street using automatic weapons and police dogs so the deploying of soldiers could proceed. Now that happened at Fort Hood. So again, here again in America, we have people that are fed up about this war, and here's just one situation where it says, you got 5 peacekeeping activists who want to keep our boys here, and I think it's a great idea. I think it's best that we keep our boys here, because if they go over there, the chance of them dying is pretty good. I know, even though they are supposedly in good hands over there, I would just rather have them here, honestly. I mean, this war has been just tragic enough. But in addition to soldiers remaining in Iraq, the country remains in a miserable condition. Foreign Policy in Focus reports that Iraq has had between 25 and 50% unemployment, a dysfunctional parliament, rampant diseases, an epidemic of mental illness, can you imagine that, and sprawling slums. The killing of innocent people has become part of daily life. Let me repeat that again. The killing of innocent people has become part of daily life. They also report that the halt of urban residents in Iraqi live in slums, up from 20% since the U.S. invasion. So the slums have increased up from 20% from where they were started from before. Unemployment is up to 50%. There's mental illness, and I can totally agree with all that's going on. I mean, it doesn't make any sense as to why we're here. I mean, we're here on false pretenses. Everyone knows 9/11 was an inside job, but it's just craziness. It's an illegal war. With the deception by President Obama when he returns from summer vacation, reportedly the speech was highlighted with Obama keeping his promise to the end of the war. In fact, keeping troops in Iraq was always a part of Obama's plan. During the campaign, he called them residual troops and would never say how many tens of thousands would remain, even after he, quote-unquote, ended the war. Well, it's more than obvious that he didn't end the war. And that is such a shame. It's unbelievable for the United States. It's unbelievable for our U.S. troops. Now, I just want to add a little bit here. Like I said, there will be, I think it's 5 links going to be underneath. I'm just going to end with this last paragraph here. This is rather interesting because this is a misconception and a very unfortunate part of my video. Now, recent media reports tag last month as the most deadliest for Iraqi citizens since 2008. Now, I want to go over this, and this article came out Tuesday, August 3rd, 2010. And it says, however, the U.S. disagrees with the tallies. According to iCasualties.org, there have been 4,413 members of the U.S. forces that have been killed in Iraq since 2003, bringing the total number of Iraqi coalition members' deaths to 4,731. But in 2008, the Senate Intelligence Committee found that then President George Bush and Vice President Dick Cheney knowingly lied to Congress, exaggerating the threat of Saddam Hussein and the security he posed to the U.S. So with that, I guess there will always be a number difference in how many fatalities there have been in the Iraqi war. It seems as though that the United States just can't seem to get on the same page, and it just seems as though the White House and the Pentagon want to keep covering up how many people have actually died in the war. It's just a shame that we're fighting this illegal war, and it's so hard and so heart-wrenching to have these situations going on while our boys are overseas in other countries fighting these devastating wars. And we shouldn't be there because it's all illegal anyway. But anyway, I want to wrap it up with this. The links will be underneath. You guys have a good day. I'm thankful for my freedom.